6.5 after 8.
Xolani, fortification means you are enriching a product with nutrients that are not naturally found in that product. So in this case, following a survey which the government had done around 1999, we realized that South Africans, there was a shortage of specific nutrients in our diets, and we were deficient in those nutrients. Mm-hmm. That would be your vitamin A, iron, zinc, and thiamine, riboflavin, and niacin. We then realized that for the benefit of South Africa, and then we need to go through a process where we identify a food that is consumed by most South Africans, especially the disadvantaged South Africans, which was maize and bread flour. We then negotiated with the millers, and we had partners. It was a private-public partnership deal where we then agreed that we'll be fortifying the following products. And that was around 2003. And
right.
Yeah.
Well, before we continue, because I would like to know the implications of the shortage of these nutrients. So if you don't fortify, what happens to the people that eat that food?
There are huge implications, because these are, if we have found that most of the people in the country are deficient in these nutrients. For instance, if you look at folic acid per se, implications of folic acid deficiency, it means there will be more children who are born with what we call neural tube defect, which is the spine doesn't close properly. And the diets generally do not give you sufficient folic acid. I also need to highlight that even though folic acid is given in clinics to pregnant women, but most of the women present after 4 months. And for the benefits of folic acid, you need to take it a month before falling pregnant and 3 months after, in the first trimester. More often, women don't even know that they are pregnant around that time. So the fortification program made people have access to folic acid throughout their life, not only at specific intervals, which is actually very beneficial. And since the fortification program, we did see a decline, though at the moment we are not sure if we are benefiting more. There isn't a further decline in neural tube defects.
Are those the only...
with other vitamins like your vitamin A, which is good for boosting your immune system, it's actually very critical. Zinc reduces the rates of diarrhea and the severity of diarrhea. So if you are consuming food with such nutrients, there are a lot of benefits, health benefits.
So if you don't fortify foods, then you end up with people who have these spinal problems, who have these problems.
We'll see an increase in neural tube defects if we stop adding the folic acid. We'll not see any health benefits if we don't add all the other nutrients. Things like some of the nutrients like riboflavin, thiamine, and niacin. We have seen a complete decline. In pellagra, which used to be there long ago, beriberi, some of those diseases, we don't see them anymore because of the benefits of having these nutrients in maize meal.
All right, then we'll talk about what is happening in as far as fortification is concerned. But also let me just draw your attention to the Development Bank of Southern Africa's report in 2008, which said that child malnutrition rates in this country have deteriorated, with 1 out of 5 children in South Africa having stunted growth because of not having enough nutrition. It also found that almost a third of women and children in this country were anemic, and almost half of all children had too little zinc.
Yes. Which is true. This study was the National Food Consumption Survey, which was conducted in 2005. And nutrients such as zinc would actually assist us in alleviating the stunting condition, because zinc does contribute to proper growth. So if you look at infant feeding practices, including the micronutrients, if we were addressing those adequately, would actually be able to address such problems.
All right. Then last week, the National Consumer Forum, as I said a little earlier on, issued this statement suggesting that some brands do not comply with the law. Are you aware, as the Department of Health, that is happening?
Yes, we are aware. Over the past, few years, we realized that in laboratories that were testing, like the Cape Town laboratory, we're finding that only 20% of the millers were actually compliant. I do need to indicate, though, that part of we are also not monitoring in all the provinces. That remains a challenge with the department, partly because of either EHPs not being active in other provinces, not being sufficient, But the main problem is that, the law stipulates that there's a need for maize to be fortified at such levels, and that should be continuing, irrespective of the challenges that we are facing as well.
I'll talk about your responsibilities. I just wanted to establish as a fact that there are problems, in fact, that millers are not fortifying. Let me come back to the studio then, Paul. It came from the National Consumer Forum. Talk to us about how this conclusion, or how the National Consumer Forum came to this conclusion.
Well, Alan, what we did is we just started from taking food off the shelves. We don't have a huge number of resources to do this testing, and as you can imagine, it's a very expensive business. So we simply took a couple of brands and gave them to the SABS, and they tested them for us in terms of the regulated limits. This is the health regulations that stipulates what level of each of those additives should be, and they gave us a report back, to say this is what we found. We have 2 or 3 other samples in the pipeline at the moment, but we can't unfortunately say that we've done a definitive study. We can't say that we've gone and tested every supplier in the market. So what we've got is very much a starting point, but it's been a very useful starting point from the point of view that, one, we've found that on the face of it, we see that the figures don't match, the regulated figures don't match what we found, and we've also found that there are all sorts of issues related to the testing itself, which makes the process a whole lot more complicated, and as we will discuss this morning, there's probably more that we're going to have to do to establish exactly how to bring this whole process back on track.
All right, let me bring in the milling company then, Premier Milling. Mr. Kruger, what is the response from your company in particular and the industry? You stand accused of not complying with the legislation and therefore putting the lives of very many people in this country in danger.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to actually be on your program and respond to this. I can obviously only talk for my company. I can't talk on behalf of the industry. I've got no representation from the industry, so my response will only be on behalf of Premier Foods.
Go ahead.
Just from a policy point of view, Premier Foods started fortifying maize meal in 1995. For the simple reason that we recognize this challenge we have from a nutritional point of view in the country. Our product is mostly sold to lower LSM groups, hugely consumed by the previously disadvantaged people that you referred to earlier. So we recognized in the mid-90s the need for fortification. It obviously also gave us a marketing edge. We could put in our packaging and we could put in our marketing campaigns that we fortify our maize and it's better for you than maybe some competitors may. So from a policy point of view and from a strategic point of view, Premier Foods have been fortifying maize for 15, 16 years now. Lynn referred to 2002, 2003 when it was legislated. She's 100% correct that there was a negotiation and it wasn't so much a negotiation than rather working together with the industry. The Chamber of Milling at the time, of which I was a member at the time, participated in those discussions, fully working with government to try and fortify food on a national basis and from a legislative point of view. During those times, we discussed with government how difficult it is to test for these products afterwards. It is to take a finished product and go and test for vitamin A. It's a very complicated test, and you get it wrong quite often. I'll come back to that just now. But we've agreed with government at the time that one of the most important tests that we would do, or one of the most important activities we will do to ensure that the fortification is done, to measure the mixing. So all these products in the fortification, there's 8 products, and by the way, I've just said that Premier Foods started the 1995 fortification. At the moment, we put 11 products into the fortification and not 8. We put 3 additional products into the fortification.
But I'm just going to rush you because I want to know from you, are you implying that none of your products are among those that have been found not to have fortified?
No. We fortify our products. We've got the control, we've got the quality control systems in all our plants. We've got 6 mills where we mill either maize or wheat.
So Premier Foods has absolutely nothing to worry about. All your food is fortified.
No, we've had a session with NCF yesterday. We've had a long discussion with NCF yesterday. I'm the last person to deny deny anything. If there's an issue, we would like to know what it is, and we would like to fix it. So we've agreed with NCF yesterday.
You spoke about the brands that you tested. Was any of the Premier Foods brand among those?
It happened to be both Premier Food brands. It happened to be Iwisa and Super Sun.
And these are very popular brands.
These are popular brands. We just took the ones that appeared to us to be the ones that a lot of people.
So there you go then, Mr. Kruger. Your brands, popular brands, used by millions of poor people in this country, are not fortified.
No, they were fortified.
But what happened? I mean,
if
the
we look
answer
at
is
the test, can I
yeah.
explain the test to you? The test that was done, the two products, Super Sun and Iwisa, is exactly the same. They come out of the same mill. They go through the same mixing process. They just put into two different bags. It's a Super Sun is a brand predominantly in Pretoria, and Iwisa is a brand predominantly in other areas of the country. So the content is exactly the same. So if the tests are very different, that's the first question of suspicion. If you look at the test
you don't
itself,
trust the tests that were done?
We do these tests all the time.
So you don't trust the tests that were conducted by the NCF?
No, the test, first of all, tested against the addition. There's two standards. You must, let's assume you want, in the finished product, you want 80 particles, then you mix 100 particles. If you test the finished product, you test against the 80 particles. This test was done against the 100 particles. So first of all, it was tested against the wrong standard. If you look at the test itself, of the 8 ingredients, 3 or 4 of them we were way over the prescription, and for the others, the test indicated that it was below the prescription. That's a question to be asked.
Okay, so the issue is that the standard that they used, you are not satisfied, you're not happy with that standard.
Well, it's just the wrong standard.
It's
the
a wrong
standard is in the regulation.
Paul, it's a wrong standard.
We've got the requirements from the regulations, and we took those to the SABS, who are experts in this, and according to their results, they simply gave us the results back.
So they confirmed.
And they confirmed that the level that's in the regulation was not met by the tests. Whether we can clarify this with Premier by looking at their systems and by discussing also with the SABS whether or not they had the right information, it's not clear to us as a consumer body what the exact measurement is.
But it was done by experts at the South African Bureau of Standards.
Yeah, we gave it to the experts. They gave it back to us, indicating that the
they
findings
do not contain the
were
level
too
of
low.
nutrients. Yeah.